Good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with People. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. How are you? How are you all doing? Good evening. Welcome to Conversations with People. And we have been on my 40 life lessons. Uh, you are welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. How are we doing? Happy Sunday. How's the Sunday going? It's almost over anyway. It's the last day of the month of July. Tomorrow we step into August. Awesome, awesome, awesome. August. We step into August. Wow. I mean, the eighth month already. Stepping into the eighth month already. Awesome, God. Good evening. You're all welcome. Good evening. Good evening. You are powerfully welcome. How was service today? My service was mind blowing. I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome. The word was rich. We had a wonderful time in service today. Had a great time in service today. Awesome. I trust you had a great time in service too as well. And you have a word to run with for the week. And to you have a word to go through, with you for the week and also for the new month of August. I agree with you in faith that the month of August will deliver to you everything that God has planned into it. You will not miss your opportunities. You will not miss the orchestrations of God and the workings of God around you. You're sensitive in your spirit. You're alert in your spirit. Your ears are open to hear. You're able to heed instruction, and grace is released to be able to do the things that God would have you do in the month of August. Your faith is activated, your hope is restored, and uh, you're overflowing with the love of God in this month of August. 8 is God's number for new beginning. I'm agreeing in faith with you that you will experience new beginning, new vista of life and hope in whatever situation it is that you are faced with. In Jesus' name. All right. So, what do I have for you? What do I have for you today? We are on the 31st life lesson. I mean, wow. We started this journey on the 1st of July, and here we are, 31st of July. Awesome, God. I think it's a good time to, roll out the drums and just like, give a shout on my behalf. Being consistent every day for 31 days is no joke, guys. It's no joke. And I'm sure you guys know that. But I'm grateful to God for grace, for strength. When I embarked on this journey, I tell you, I didn't exactly have a clear plan, as it were, other than I knew that I wanted to share my 40 life lessons at least 15 minutes every day. 10 p.m. wasn't so convenient for myself and for a whole lot of people, but well, 10 p.m. was what came to my heart. And I believe that as many as have been able to join in have been blessed one way or the other. And this is me saying thank you for joining in. So today, I am starting the last part of the 4 parts. So 40 life lessons, there are 4 parts, 10 each. The first one was on life. The second part was on lessons. The third one that we just concluded yesterday was on love and marriage. And I want to encourage you to get those messages. They are available on YouTube, they are on my Facebook page, and they are also available as audio files. My podcast, Anchor FM, Pimu's Secrets. Please avail yourself. They're also available on Spotify as well. Avail yourself this audios. It's just about 15 minutes, and I believe that it would greatly, greatly bless you. The last part we did, which was on love and marriage, was truly instructive, and there's a whole lot to learn in that department. Okay, so what are we starting on? The very last part which is the last L. You have life, lesson, love, and the last one is leadership. So this next 10 episodes will be on leadership, leadership and ministry. What have I learned? You know, of course, these 10 points are not like exhaustive. They are not like the totality of all I've learned, but just a few snippets here and there to share with us. So today, my 31st life lesson, which is the first of the fourth path, which is on leadership and ministry, is the fact that to lead is a privilege. It is not an entitlement. That is so powerful and that is so key. To lead is a privilege. And I tell you, if I can add to that, it is a huge responsibility. It's amazing how people just want to have the titles, the accolades, and it just seems like, it seems like it's a show of talent to lead. No, when you are called to lead, it's bigger responsibility. You are going to be accountable, especially if it is with respect to, in fact, there's no especially, whether ministry, in business, in career, as long as you are called to lead, it comes with a measure of responsibility. You're going to be accountable for the resources God brings your way, both the human resource, the material resource, the intellect resource, whatever it is, skill resource, whatever it is God brings your way for you to steward, you are going to be accountable for it. So that we are leaders is not about shooting up above the pack, the rest of the pack. So remember how they were describing about Saul, and they said Saul was taller, shoulder high, above all. It wasn't about the physique. It's not about how tall. At the end of the day, we saw what kind of a king he was. It's a lot more than that. It's not about being more eloquent or being more brilliant than every other person. No, it's about sometimes election of grace. God has just called you and chosen you at such a time as this to create a pathway for something that He's doing. Now, Jesus explained to us that when you say you're a leader, it just means that you have perfected the art of being a follower. It also means that when you are a leader, it means that you have signed up for service. So leadership is not getting the corner office. Leadership is not all about, sitting on a high table, being highly respected, and having all the sa and ma with all the titles that come with it, and everyone bowing and kneeling and greeting and, putting you. Sometimes those things are even dangerous because men know how to hype people. Men, human beings, we know how to hype people and put them on platforms that God has not even asked them to be on. So we have to be very mindful of that calling. It takes grace to lead. It's not an entitlement. And it's easy when you come into that leadership arena or into that leadership position for you to think that your skills got you there. Yes, God is going to need your skills. We've seen that with Joseph, we've seen that with David, we've seen that with Daniel and the other the other three Hebrew boys, I beg your pardon. But it's a lot more than skills. For you to operationalize in details the assignment of God over your life as a leader, you need grace. Because what's the point? Getting up there and then realizing your ladder was on the wrong wall, or getting up there and not being able to sustain it. So, leadership is not an entitlement, it's not about getting the spotlight. Oh, there are so many leaders who are in the background, so many leaders who are just watching, who God is using behind the scene. They are not in the spotlight. They are not out there, but I tell you, they have a leadership heart. And God is using them. God is raising them. Do you believe that David was a leader while he was following ears with young, while he was shepherding, sheep? God saw the leader. God said, I called him while he was doing those things to come and shepherd my people. It's the same skills. So leadership is not about that big platform. Leadership starts from the heart. You have to be a leader at heart. God has to be able to mold you, to train you. God has to be able to communicate with you. God has to be able to speak to you. So I'm not talking about, having this toga of, arrogance and feeling like, yes, I've arrived, I'm better than the rest of you. Do you know who I am? No. In fact, far from it. Leadership is not an entitlement. I'm going to read Ephesians 3, verse 8. He says, to me, who am less than the least of all the saints, this grace was given to me. Can we see what we're saying about grace? You need grace to lead. Moses said, I can't do this thing. Say, I don't even have mouth. He says, I'm not eloquent. God said, I created the mouth. If it was eloquence I was looking for, because he kept saying, but look at Aaron, he's eloquent. God said, if that's what I'm looking for, then I wouldn't come to you. He said, but that's not what I'm looking for. That I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of God. Paul was saying here that I'm the least qualified, physically speaking. But God chose me. Leadership is by election of grace. When God puts you in a leadership position, no matter how small, we are the ones who defining it as small. Did David realize that God was building his did Joseph realize that God was building his leadership skill to become the prime minister while he was showing those skills even from his home? Because the Bible tells us that he will bring back reports to his father about what went on when his brothers, went on business. He will bring back report. He was gradually building that leadership skill in him, even though at some point he felt entitled with the coat of many colors. And God had to now take him through training and say it's not about being entitled. He's understanding that being a leader means that you are servant of all. And that's what Jesus did. He took the towel. Peter said, you will not wash my leg. He said, if I don't wash your leg, you don't have any part in me. He said, wash my leg, wash my feet, even wash my head. And Jesus showed them how to be a leader, that you are ready to serve. Leadership is service, and it's not eye service. Leadership is service from the heart, genuine service from a place of love, from a place of total surrender to God. David said in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 18, then King David went in and sat before the Lord, and he said, who am I, O Lord, and what is my house that you have brought me this far? We can't be entitled. We can't be feeling entitled and feeling better than others. No, it's by grace. And I think when we treat it that way, when we appreciate it that way, we are able to even serve the more. We're able to lead even the more. Jesus came to show us, to show you what kind of a leader he was. When they were looking for him to kill him, they didn't even recognize him. Someone had to betray him with a kiss for them to know who he was. So that means that he rode with the 12 like one of them. He rode with them like one of them. Because if he had been the leader, they would have spotted him. They doesn't need anyone to kiss him for him to betray for him to be betrayed. Because if you had been with that kind of leader that is so obvious that I'm the leader here. Leadership is not an entitlement. And one of the greatest lessons I've also learned about leadership being a privilege, not an entitlement, is that God has raised you a leader so that you can raise other leaders. So that you can raise other leaders so that you can replicate what God is doing with you in the lives of others. Paul said to them, he said, the things I've shared with you, the things I've committed to you, commit unto others who are able to commit also unto others. So that is the signature of true leadership, that you are able to raise other leaders. It's not an entitlement. It's not about the title. The title just describes the office that you are occupying. That's all. Your definition is beyond the title. That I'm called a pastor does not mean that's the all about me. Whether you put the pastor or you don't put the pastor, it doesn't reduce who God has made me and how God has graced me. May we never get to that point where we are totally oblivious to the fact that leadership is a privilege and not an entitlement. And because it's a privilege, it requires grace that is beyond you to be able to manage it. I really hope and pray that the Lord will help us, make us, understand that with leadership comes some level of accountability, some level of responsibility. It comes with a whole lot that, hey, by the time we understand it deeply, it's not about the titles or about feeling like I'm better than others. The Lord will help us in Jesus' name, and the Lord will raise amongst us, genuine leaders who understand that leadership is the same as service. Leadership is the same as service. To those whom God has called you to lead, indirectly, He has called you to serve. I pray the Lord will help us in Jesus' name. Thank you for joining me this evening. That is my first episode in the 4th season on leadership, and this is my 31st life lesson. I hope I've not succeeded in confusing you. Thank you for joining me this evening. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as I share with you, my 32nd life lesson and still on leadership and ministry. I was going to say stay tuned. Don't stay tuned. Go and sleep. I'll see you tomorrow, 10 p.m. Have a beautiful night rest, a blessed week ahead, and a blessed month ahead.